The Fox City SCORE chapter and WHBY are pleased to bring you Biz Talk, a chance for you to hear from entrepreneurs and professionals as they share their experiences from starting to sustaining growth. Learn the skills needed for your business to be successful. If you missed anything, you can catch the Biz Talk podcast at biztalkwithscore.com. And now from the Myron Construction Studio, it's Biz Talk on WHBY.
Good morning and welcome to Biz Talk. I'm your co-host, Terry Pinch, and with me as co-host this week is Rick Sense. How are you doing, Rick?
I'm doing really well, Terry.
Good. We have a interesting story today about a great property management business in Oshkosh. So we'd like to welcome Melanie Julian to the show. Welcome, Melanie. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thanks so much for having me.
Okay. So first, tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll talk about your business.
Sure. So, I am a mom to 4 awesome kids. I'm married to my husband and co-owner of our business, Summit Properties. We are a very busy family with lots of sports and just lots of activity going on.
Okay. So tell us, first of all, what Summit Properties of Oshkosh is, and then we'll go in more detail on that.
Summit Properties Oshkosh is a rental business that serves the community of Oshkosh. We provide quality housing. We provide excellent customer service, and we strive to improve our community as well.
Okay. So let's start with how you got started. Where did this idea of getting into property management come from?
Well, believe it or not, I have wanted to be a landlord since I was 7 years old. When I was 7, my family moved into a new rental, new to us, and when the landlord came over, it was my classmate's dad. And I could not believe that anybody could own 2 homes. We didn't own a home. And so to see that someone I knew owned 2 homes was so intriguing to me. And I knew right away that when I was an adult, I would want to have multiple homes as well and be a landlord.
So how did you start doing that?
Well, when my husband and I were married for about a year, we started to, well, even when we were dating and thinking about our future together, we looked at the idea of owning properties as an income source, as an investment. And so at that point, we didn't have our own home. We got married and rented an apartment. And so we would go every week to the grocery store and pick up the new magazine that would have all the homes for sale. And one week we were looking through it and found an ad that advertised an FHA loan, which said that in an owner-occupied home, you could get a loan with only 3.5% down. And we made a meeting with the banker, and he gave us the parameters that we needed to meet to be able to purchase a home. And he said he gave us this would have been 2009 and 2008, excuse me. And he said that we needed, we could purchase a single family home for $40,000 or a duplex up to $70,000. And so we found a real estate agent and we were able to find a home, and we put an offer on in it at $63,000 that was accepted. And so we walked through the process, and that duplex was our first income property.
Okay. So did you have to do some repairs and fix it up a bit before you started to rent it out?
It was a foreclosure property. So we started by fixing up the lower unit. It was It had some problems. It had odor issues. It had paint issues. It was not a desirable home for most people, but we spent about a month after we closed cleaning it up. We refinished the wood floors, repainted everything. We didn't have a lot of money to put into our place because as soon as we fixed up our place and moved in, we started on the upstairs unit. We renovated that completely, and then we were able to rent that out.
Okay. So I want to step back because you told us an interesting story about what happened what you did when you were 18. We want to hear that one too, because we think people would like to hear that.
Sure. Well, having this dream since I was 7 to want to be a landlord, after high school, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. And so I thought I would see what kind of opportunities were out there for buying and fixing up homes to turn into rentals. So I walked into a real estate agent office in my hometown and told him that what I was looking for. I was looking for a single family home or a duplex, and I wanted something that needed repairs. And he asked me who was going to do the repairs. And I told him that I would be doing the repairs myself as much as I could. And he laughed at me. And after that meeting, I left the meeting and I didn't pursue real estate any further. I put it in the back of my mind and thought that it wasn't going to work for me. And then it wasn't until I got married and my husband and I had been talking about it for some time, going into real estate and purchasing an investment property, that I started to think it was possible again for me to be a landlord.
And for listeners, as we go through the rest of the show, you'll hear at times that Melanie's actually quite good at repair and updates in houses and knows how to do it. So it wasn't something she couldn't do when she asked about it. But anyhow, it goes back to one thing, Rick mentioned it as well, is that you've got to be persistent and you can't let people shoot you down from your dreams. And it took you a while to come back, but you did come back to it.
It did. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I wouldn't have listened to him, if I had found someone else to help me or kept pursuing my dream and not allowed that one person to sway me from what I wanted to do. I do wonder, but at the same time, I'm really happy with where business is at. We can't go back and change the past, but if someone is listening and has heard that they can't do what they want to do, I hope that this is their moment to realize to give it another shot, to keep trying and to listen more to your own spirit, what your own spirit says that you can do than what someone else says you can or can't do.
Okay, good. So you had one unit. What were your goals and were you thinking you were going to buy more properties and get up to the 26 units you have now? Or did you just think, oh, this is one and that's all we'll have?
Our goal was 10 duplexes was kind of our goal. And we really felt like if we had 10, that was going to be enough for us. We'd be able to retire and manage those 10 properties. But as time went on, we just were presented with a number of opportunities, a number of different properties than we were really thinking about. And so just through a number of circumstances, we've grown past our original goal and bought properties that are much different than just duplexes. We've been able to purchase a variety of properties, single family homes. The second property that we bought was 2 duplexes on one city lot. We have an 8 unit, a 4 unit, duplexes and single family homes. So, and really, we didn't set parameters around what places need to be for us to look at them. We've really walked through doors as they opened for us. We haven't had to do a ton of searching or a ton of work to find our properties. A lot of them have just been opportunities that have come to us.
So how did you learn about managing properties? You bought your first place, you have a tenant upstairs. How did you learn about it?
The hard way. We learned about it the hard way. We believed that if someone asked us for a home, if someone wanted to rent from us, that we would rent to them and that it would all work out. And we still have some tenants that are original tenants who have been with us for a long time, and they've been fantastic. But we have rented to people who took advantage of us. We've rented to and because we were naive, we did allow that to happen. So we made mistakes in not screening properly, in not keeping up on rent payments. So if someone got behind, we gave them a lot of grace and believed that they would catch up. And we ended up getting at this point, we had I think we had 4 duplexes at this point, because we eventually moved out of the duplex and bought ourselves a single family home. Again, it was a foreclosure. Nobody else wanted it, needed a ton of work, but we moved out. And so at that point we had 4 duplexes, and we got ourselves in a tricky situation where we didn't have enough income coming in to cover our costs because people were behind on rent and there were repairs that needed to be done, and we needed to do those. And so we decided to hire a property management company, and they put better tenants in for us. They helped get everybody on payment plans and held them to it. And if they didn't hold to the plan, they got them out and replaced them. And so there was a big learning curve there that we were really thankful that our management company was able to come in and straighten out some of the issues that we created for ourselves.
Yeah. And we'll talk later about what you learned over time and how you made adjustments once you had done all of that learning, because it's a very good story too. So how did you find the properties you buy?
We have found them in all different ways. We have purchased some from the MLS with a realtor when we were looking for something specific. We've done that a couple times. We're always looking at what's hitting the MLS and seeing what's out there, what's affordable, what could cash flow. But we have found that personal connections have been our best source of purchasing properties. So we, for example, we purchased one property through the MLS, and then we got to know the sellers of that property, and as they were selling, we were buying. And so we purchased a number from them. And then on our second purchase from them was actually just another really cool opportunity where they offered to help us take our properties or keep our properties that we buy from them and learn to self-manage as we purchased properties from them. My husband is, aside from owning Summit Properties Oshkosh with me, he also owns a lawn care and snow business, Barefoot Lawn Service. And he has had a couple of times now where clients of his are selling their home, and people know that we purchase properties, so they've asked if we're interested, and we've purchased a couple that way as well.
Okay, we're at the right spot for our first break. You're listening to Biz Talk with Score on WHBY, and we'll be back after these messages.
Good morning and welcome back to Biz Talk with Fox City Score on WHBY Radio, and we'll get right back to our guest, Melanie, Julian, in just a little bit. First, I want to just take a moment to talk to you about Score in the Fox Cities. Fox City Score serves an 8-county area with offices in Appleton, Oshkosh, and then Fond du Lac. We have about 45 volunteer mentors, each an expert in their field, offering entrepreneurs no cost and confidential mentoring. Those areas of expertise include IT, social media, marketing, cash flow, accounting, strategic planning, workflow, human resources, retail best practices, and many, many others. In order to register for a no-cost, confidential mentoring session, and or to learn more about the Fox City Score chapter, please visit our website at score.org/Fox Cities. You can learn more about how the Score chapter can assist you with starting and or growing your business, and you can complete an application for a mentoring session. Simply complete the online form and submit it to Score. Within a few days, a Score mentor will be contacting you to set up a meeting. Remember, Score is no cost and offers experts who can offer you assistance in many different areas. To get started, please visit our website at score.org/Fox Cities. To support small business people, Fox City Score is always looking for new mentors. If you have experience that you would like to share with others, we'd love to talk to you. We welcome volunteers with experience in all aspects of business, and small business owners really need your help, and your experience can make a real difference to their success. Go to score.org/Fox Cities, click on the volunteer button, and fill out the short application, and we'll get back to you to explain more. So, Melanie, I have to ask, when did you and your husband first know you were going to be successful?
That's a great question. I think with real estate, it's always risky. I think there's always, I don't think it's ever a guarantee that you'll be successful. There are so many moving pieces, so many parts that can change really quickly. And so I guess I still don't even feel like it's a guarantee for me and my husband. But I think we've done a lot of things right that have set us up well. We have, and the reason we've done things well is because we've had a lot of support. So we have professionals that help us quite a bit. We have a fantastic banker who helps us with our lending and always makes sure that we're on solid financial footing. So, for example, something we choose to do is we always put 20% new money down on a purchase rather than stacking it on our previous purchases, which can become a house of cards. And sometimes it's difficult to do that when you see other people building faster because they're putting one house on top of another. But we've been well advised to not do that. And so we're just building a solid foundation. I think when we got to about 10 properties is when it kind of started to become, like surprising that we're really doing this, that this is really working, because up till that point, it was all theory for us. We think this could work. We've heard that it can work. But once we got to about 10 doors, 10 units, we started to see that this can work.
And knowing that process now and getting to the point where you feel successful, what would you have changed along the way?
Well, I would have walked out of that realtor's office and walked right into another one. That's what I would change. I would have started sooner. But I think there are some properties that I wouldn't have purchased knowing now what I know. But also those properties have presented the greatest learning opportunities. And I can't let this interview go by without saying that the help that Mr. Pinch has given me as my SCORE mentor has been absolutely life-changing, not just to my business, but to what I believe about being able to accomplish my goals. And so I think if I would do something differently, I would have found a SCORE mentor much sooner than I did. But because those relationships, and also and on the same note, the relationships of people in my field, I guess I did try to do it on my own in the beginning. We didn't reach out to other people who were doing the same thing. We just kind of did what we could on our own, and networking sooner would have also helped us grow faster, and maybe not made those mistakes in the early years. There are so many resources now that were not available when we started. There's everything from Facebook groups to, there is so much information online about owning properties and becoming a landlord. Not all of it is true, especially the pieces that say that it's easy and fast and you don't have to use your own money. That wasn't true for us. And so, be cautious of those kind of advertisements, but, it is a long process. It's not an easy road. But it is worth it.
Before I let my co-host call for a break here, I just want to make sure that all the listeners know he goes by Terry, not Mr. Pinch, at least to me. So please, Melanie, don't confuse our listeners. They might not know who this Mr. Pinch is.
I was looking for my dad on Zoom.
So I think this would be a good time for us to take a break so we can compose ourselves and get back to our conversation. You're listening to Biz Talk on WHBY.
Welcome back to Biz Talk with SCORE. Before we get back to our guest, Melanie and Julian from Summit Properties of Oshkosh, I want to give you a quick update on some education opportunities. If you go to the SCORE website, so it's score.org/Fox Cities, you'll see in the upper center a tab for workshops and events. And I want to mention just a couple things on there. First, if you go into the upcoming events, there's quite a few there, but there's two that really stand out and I want to mention. And the first one is social media marketing strategies for your small business. It's on March 12th and it's free. And you can go in and learn about how to use social media. It's becoming a really critical tool for small businesses. And the second one I want to mention is something that comes up a lot when we talk to people that are just starting their business. And we find out occasionally that their credit scores aren't good. And people don't always realize that you're not going to get a business loan if your credit score isn't good, because your personal credit score affects that. And so there's a good course coming called Mastering Credit Repair, a guide to improve your credit score. And that's on March 19th. So those are two upcoming live events. But after the live events are done, they go into a library, and at that same site, workshops / events on the SCORE website, you'll find recorded webinars, and on there are hundreds of free training sessions on different topics, every different topic you can imagine. So we strongly recommend you go out there and take a look. There's a lot of good things there. Okay, so with that, we're going to turn back to Melanie. And Melanie, we talked a lot in the first segment about what it was like to get started as you were growing the business. Now we're going to focus on what it's like to run a 33-unit business and what you had to learn in order to be able to do that. So as we get going in that, can you talk a little bit about how your management of finances, let's start with the bookkeeping first, changed from a few units to what you got to where you are today?
Well, bookwork and paperwork has never been my strong suit. Neither has accounting. That's why I reached out to SCORE originally. And most people don't open a small business because they love to do accounting. Most people open their small business because they love to do whatever their small business is about. And I definitely fell into that category. So I was keeping track of everything in my own spreadsheets, and I didn't trust that I was doing it correctly on a computer. So I was printing them out and I was writing everything multiple times to make sure it was correct. So I was keeping track of rent coming in a couple of different places. Same with all the utilities, the repairs, mortgage payments, taxes, other things that just come up. I was doing this all on paper in multiple files that I would have to flip through to try to find my numbers. And it was extremely overwhelming because it was so overwhelming, I would put it off further and it would just become more overwhelming. And so we started to use an online program that is made for property managers. There are a lot of programs available. We tested a couple of them, and the one that we landed on because of price and user-friendly platform, especially because they take phone calls for questions at, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. We landed on a platform called Rent Tech Direct, and it does a lot of things that have helped us. It takes online payments from our tenants. They each can open up their own app and make those payments. They can set it up recurring. So it helps us get our payments on time. It sends them reminders. And then it also tracks every property and keeps track of what is coming up with properties. Do I have openings coming up? But then as far as the bookwork goes, the accounting, it allows me to put in all my financial pieces to keep track of so that I can also run reports and see which properties are performing well, which ones have had a lot of repairs, which ones need rent raised, or which ones we want to try to replicate in future purchases.
Okay. And does it take you less time to manage your books now?
A lot less time. It takes about 4 hours a month now to put in all of the paperwork, all of the numbers, all of the everything that we need to track takes about 4 hours a month, whereas before it would be an entire weekend where I would just sit at my desk and try to make sense of all the numbers, and this helps us be much more successful.
And how often could you review your financials the old way you were doing it?
Just tax time. I would just wait till tax time and have my accountant go through everything and tell us how we did and hope for the best.
Okay. And so just so listeners know, this morning we had our review of January financials, and Melanie had everything done and was able to walk through where she is and what she's doing as she learns how to do more of that. So big changes we saw there. What about on the banking side? What's changed in your relationship with the banker?
Well, we have switched bankers since we started, and we have found that loyalty with one banker has really paid off for us because we trust him not only as a banker, but also a bit as an advisor. He specializes in this type of financing. So he sees a lot of business deals go through. He knows what is going to work.
Okay, Melanie, the other thing you've worked on quite a bit is how you manage the properties themselves. can you talk a little bit about the changes you made with subcontractors or contractors you use and cleaning people, and what you did to make that easier for yourself too?
Well, our business, we do have quite a few student rentals near the University of Wisconsin, Oshkosh. And with that, we have a short turnover window to turn over multiple properties. And so when we started, I did it all myself, all of the cleaning, all of the painting that needed to be done. And it was overwhelming. It was more than I could do, in part because I have very high standards and I want every tenant of ours to walk in and feel at home right away and know that their place is ready for them. But it got to be more than I could do on my own. And so we have realized that we have to hire out for certain things like cleaning. Some of our maintenance we hire out painting now. And what that has done is allow me to oversee the process while other people are carrying out the tasks. So like one thing that we've done is where in the beginning I would just have a notebook and write down everything that needed to be done in a unit and to get it ready for turnover. I now have a sheet that I fill out for every place that I check boxes as we walk through the property. And then that is useful for helping the cleaners know what needs to be cleaned, for example. And it gives me a list of what I need to give to my maintenance man to make sure that everything is ready on time.
And so one of the things you liked about property management was doing the repairs and doing the work on the house and that sort of stuff. How hard was it to give up that?
I still do some myself. Just today, we think we have a toilet leak at one of our properties. So I just went to all 8 units to see if I could figure out where that leak is. I still like to be in my properties. I think it's important to know what's going on. And so when I have a thing like that, I will go in and check on my units because I do want to keep my units in great shape, and being in the property helps with that. But I have a general handyman, a plumber, an electrician, a painter. I have a couple of cleaners. One is primary that I use. And by having a team that I can call to do the work, it frees up my time, and it also frees up a lot of my my thought life, because I don't have to be constantly thinking about the things that have to be done. I have someone who I can call when a toilet is leaking. I have someone who I can call when there's an issue with an electrical issue. I have a team in place so that if I don't have if I don't want to go do it myself, or I don't have the margin to do it myself, I'm able to call someone and get it taken care of.
Okay. So one of the other things property managers have to be good at is finding renters. Can you talk a little bit about your experience with that and what you've learned and how hard or easy it is?
Well, we talked about earlier that in the beginning, if someone wanted to live in one of my places, I just assumed that they were going to pay me, that they were going to take good care of the property. And I was wrong. So in what I've learned with finding renters, it takes a lot of time to find new tenants. It is what we have done is we have worked to create our standard of criteria of what a tenant needs to have to be able to live in one of our places. So we look at credit score, income, how long they've been at their job, previous rental history. So what do their current and previous landlords say about them? We do a criminal background screen, and we start with an application, and then we do our screenings, criminal screen and background screen and credit screen. And we hold very tightly to those criteria. If you meet the criteria, we will offer an apartment to you. And if you don't, we cannot offer an apartment. We still believe that people make mistakes, and that everyone deserves a wonderful place to live. We've also had a number of experiences with people who don't meet our criteria, who we have rented to in the past, that don't meet our current criteria, that it has just been a difficult situation for us and also for them, because it is difficult to be in a home that you can't afford or that you just can't make the payments on for whatever reason. So we have very strict criteria now that we follow with every vacancy. That does mean that sometimes our units sit empty because, not for long, but for a time until we can find a qualified applicant.
Okay. So we talked in the first segment a little bit about using a property manager. Can you talk a little bit about how that helped you learn and why you eventually took back the properties and managed them yourself?
Having a property management company was a wonderful learning experience for us. It helped us to see property management as a business and not as a hobby or or anything besides a business. By watching the way that they conducted business, helped us remove some of the emotion that goes into running a business. And so that was really helpful. When we had a property management company managing our properties, we were breaking even most months. So we began to realize that if we continue with property management, that we can continue to build our portfolio, we will continue to own the properties, we will continue to build equity, but we won't have cash flow. And so when we started to look at the numbers, it wasn't making sense to continue using property management. And so when I had my fourth baby, I left my full-time job, and it was an opportunity for me to focus more on our properties and manage those. And at that same time is when we purchased a property from someone who offered to help us manage it ourselves. And so we started by just managing the new properties that we were purchasing, and by starting over one at a time and bringing each one into our system that we had created, using rent tech, using our criteria for new tenants, using our systems for cleaning and turnover, using our contractors, that we started to realize that we could take over our whole portfolio and manage it as well, if not better than the property management company, and increase our cash flow so that we were actually making money from the business while we were running it.
And as you looked at just eliminating the fees, with what you've learned though, would you say you're much better at running the properties than you were?
I am much better at running the properties than I was. And part of what happened with property management is I loved the idea of this being an investment and being a hands-off investment, really being passive. That was really, I liked that idea, and I think most people do. But what we started to see was that if we're not keeping track of the numbers ourselves, if we're not seeing where every dollar is being spent, if we're not paying attention to the properties that are under management by someone else, then it didn't give us the opportunity to step in and ask for things to go differently, ask for prices to go up so that we could recoup some of the costs when our property taxes go up, ask for a different plan for utilities, and ask for different types of repairs than what were being done. So yes, I think that watching how they managed was extremely helpful in us being able to take over. And then I also think that because we're a smaller company, that one thing we are able to provide as well is just the personal piece of renting places out. We know our tenants' names. We know what the insides of all of our places look like. We're in our buildings. We are personable and communicate well with our tenants. So those are some of the things that we're able to offer now because we self-manage.
Okay, we'll take our final break here. You're listening to Biz Talk Score and WHBY, and we'll be right back. Welcome back to Biz Talk. I'd like to thank our sponsors to bring Biz Talk to you each weekend. We couldn't present Biz Talk without their generous support. Thank you to Hailing & Associates. Hailing & Associates helps small businesses and individuals not just prepare tax returns, but plan for taxes and help to minimize taxes for this year and beyond. Hailing & Associates, personal connection, positive results. And a special thank you to the Business News for promoting our program in the bi-weekly business newspaper serving Northeast Wisconsin. If you aren't already subscribing to Business News, you should. The paper is delivered bi-weekly and contains relevant and useful information about the business community in Northeast Wisconsin. And so, Melanie, could you tell people how they can contact Summit Properties if they're looking for a place to rent?
Absolutely. We're on Facebook, Summit Properties Oshkosh. You can also email us at summitpropertiesoshkosh@gmail.com.
So, Melanie, I have to ask you guys. You and your husband, you have a lot of stuff in the works already. But what's in store for you guys for the future?
Well, we are thinking about what is next. We're always looking for new properties to buy. We are always excited for new opportunities. We're also looking into some property development as a possibility. We have some opportunity to build. So we're trying to decide if we want to build apartments, if we want to build single family homes, what that looks like.
Would you ever consider building commercial properties?
We've never considered that, but we never know what's next.
Okay.
And what about vacation properties? Have you thought about that too?
We always consider that. We have thought about getting something local, a lake house. We also love to vacation in South Carolina. So every time we go, we check out what's available and see what might cash flow. But for now, we're sticking to Oshkosh, and we're happy to be in the community and serving the people of Oshkosh.
Okay. So just broadly, looking back at everything you've done, what do you feel like when you think about that, about your business? How does it make you feel?
My favorite part about our business is that we provide quality housing for people in our community. And I think there are times that I still can't quite wrap my mind around what we've done. as far as being able to purchase properties. We've bought them one at a time. We've looked at every deal one at a time and analyzed if it would work. So that is really fun to look back on. And we're just excited for what the future holds for us.
Okay. And so from my perspective, I've worked with Melanie. It's got to be 3 years now, maybe 4. Mm-hmm. And the change that's happened in this business has just been phenomenal. And the way, the success they've had and the conversations they're having about the future is really great. So to me, it's a great story. A lot of things we could have covered, we didn't in a constrained time, but you got a good view of what the story is like. So thank you, Melanie, for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, and thank you for listening. Again, it's Biz Talk with Score. If you want to hear this episode again or hear some of our older episodes, go to our website at biztalkwithscore.com and you will find those episodes. Thanks again, and we'll see you next week. Bye.